The biggest problem right now going on with this generation is that they can't afford to do both. They don't know how to do both, or they just can't make it happen. They can't make it work. And I'll say what the both is right now. People are not able to be dependent nor dependent on somebody else. And because both of those things, it's hard to make them coexist without conflict. It's hard to make them exist and work together without experiencing the cons at an amplified degree and a more consistent and frequent occurrence than you would like. Because most of the time, you either gonna fall in one category or you're gonna fall in another. It's hard to do both. It is hard to be an independent person, but a dependent person. It's hard to want to provide for yourself and provide for somebody comfortably, though. I would love to provide. I love to provide for people, but to provide for somebody without worrying about taking advantage of, or even like just whatever the case may be, you could give somebody something and they can still want to take from you. It does not matter. So it's really hard to want to be there for people and look out for people, knowing that like at some point you just can't do that because it might just pose as too much of a risk. On top of that, doing that while looking out for yourself at the same time, that almost just feels like just impossible. You can't fathom how you can make that work. And I would know because I've tried to make it work sometimes. Right now, I'm trying to make it work, but truthfully, now more than anything, I can care less about one. I'm gonna do the other because trying to do both is probably the slowest thing that it could be and the most dangerous thing it could be. I'm thinking like a jack of all trades compared to like someone that just has a like just a master of one thing. That master of one thing don't got to think about nothing else. He know what he doing. He got it all figured out. That one craft that he's perfected that's it. When you got a tool so good, you don't need another. Thinking about like you can put that for anything. Think about basketball. If I got such a good right hand, I'm never gonna need the left. If I got such a good screwdriver, I don't need a hammer. I don't need none of that. I'm gonna make this screwdriver work. If I got such a good brain, I know what it is I'm thinking. I know what it is like I get done. I don't care about nobody else's. I don't care about what my heart got to decide for me. I don't care about none of that. My brain just know what I gotta do. Right. So truthfully, it's like you really gotta think about like do you want to just perfect one craft and then leave yourself, you could say, vulnerable or just underdeveloped in the rest, or do you want to have a full understanding of everything else, knowing that you can never truly perfect another, knowing that you'll only be a competent and a good, if not average person at everything, but you can never be the best at something. You want to be the best at something though. You want to worry about one thing and not have to worry about the rest. That makes sense. That's what y'all want to do. I'm gonna tell you right now, that's what's holding people back. Is they think that just by doing one thing, you don't have to think about the next. You have to think about the next. It does not matter because some things are strictly built on the foundation of having it all. You can't just do one thing and then have one thing. No, tell me one thing in life that you've made work off of that alone without something else though. Like just one thing. You can have hard work, but you gotta have discipline, right? You can have you can, like right now. I can have a nice video, but with this topic at hand could be garbage. I don't care. It don't matter what this video look like. It don't matter. If the topic I'm talking about, who cares? They don't care about that shit. They're gonna skip. They're gonna move on. They're gonna click something else. I can't blame them. The topic sucks, or vice versa. I can have a nice ass topic. They won't watch the video. Pixelated, bad lighting. You feel me? Like no visual, nothing going on. Who cares about it? Right. So it's very hard to just do something, be good at one thing, and then not have a piece of that or some kind of form of that be built on something else. Have some other thing play out for you in a favor that you've worked for that you can understand enough to be like, okay, I got this and I got that. So okay, let's put it together. You can't just have this and then you don't got nothing to pair that up with. You have to have something to pair that up with. You have to build on something, right? A relationship ain't just built on communication, no. And on top of that, you can't just communicate with somebody. You could talk all day you want to somebody. They gotta be able to comprehend that. They gotta have the understanding of what you're talking about. You could talk to somebody one ear, out the other. It don't matter. It don't matter how good you are with your verbiage, how much you can articulate yourself, the words that you use. You got a nice vocabulary. You making sense of everything that you say. But to them, you're not making a damn sense. They don't know what you're talking about, or they just not listening. Who cares? On top of that, you could talk what you want in a relationship, but you gotta act on it too. You gotta put love in it. You gotta put time in it. You gotta be patient with it. It ain't just built on communication. It ain't just built on love. It ain't just built on you acting for this person. It ain't built on just all that stuff. There's more that you gotta put in it. So I'm telling you, people are too focused on one trait without having the other. That's the problem with this generation. They can't do it all. And you don't have to do it all. I understand that part. But the problem is they don't even want to. I can understand for some people they don't know how to, but even when they taught how to do it, they don't even want to do it. So for the people that you're trying to teach, gotta try to teach a few people, you just end up finding yourself teaching them, and they're not learning nothing though, because they don't care about it. They don't want to do that. So someone might look at this video to like be informed on it. Yeah, how can I be an independent person? How can I make that work? You tell me. But then when they figure it out, when they find out how to do it, nah, I'm not doing all that. Who cares? It ain't worth trouble. It ain't worth the work. It ain't worth the double cons. Cause you got the cons of being independent, but you got the cons of being dependent. I don't want both of that. I just want one. One is much easier to manage, and I get that. But you're never gonna be complete with just one thing. It's never gonna be complete. And you don't just want one thing. I promise you don't. You don't just want to be an independent person. You want to depend on somebody. You don't want to be a dependent person. You want to be by yourself. You want to make sure if you come to a position where it's just you straight, you do. But let me really like dive into what I mean by like independent and dependent, right? What I mean by dependent, you want to be able to trust somebody. You want to be able to love somebody. You want to be able to be like comfortable in somebody, confide in somebody without no worries that the information that you give them, the thing that you do for them, whatever, is gonna turn on you. It's gonna fall back on you, turn against you, whatever. You don't want that. You want to be able to be with somebody or like depend on somebody and just feel comfortable about that. But it's hard to do that nowadays. It's hard to look at somebody and not think, oh, is there an alternative motive? You can't look at somebody and just be like, yeah, like I want to love this person. You can't do that because you know what that love is gonna come trust, and with that trust, it's gonna come time and you acting out for this person. But that might be too much an investment. That's way too risky. It's too risky to be comfortable, to be trusting, to be loving, and not pose as some kind of risk. Because we know like you can't get stabbed in your back by an enemy. You can't. You can't get betrayed by an enemy. That's not possible. It's just not possible. You already know what the enemy's plot. You already know that they want to do harm to you. You already know that they're gonna come for you at some point. So you already kind of ready for that. But when it comes down to people that you really put your life into and your trust into and your time into, and then you just feel that sharp pain, and you turn around, you see a middle object sticking out your back, and you kind of see them just there with a straight face, like nothing happened, like they ain't just do that, like they ain't just put it there. It hit different. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, I'm gonna be dependent on these kind of people, and these kind of people won't do me right. So you gonna just stick to the alternative. You're gonna be who you gotta be for you, because you're gonna get it done. You're gonna stay true to yourself. That's all you can do. That's all you should be doing. I get that. But then you got the unfortunate people that are dependent and then don't know how to be independent, so they rely on being dependent on other people to get them where they gotta be. And like I said, there's nothing wrong. Like there's things wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. Each side got its pros and cons. But what I'm saying is you gotta know how to play it both. Cause people don't want to play it both. People nowadays don't even want to be dependent on somebody. They don't want to love somebody because they know that it's gonna come too much pain. It's gonna come too much trauma. It's gonna come too much hurt. But deep down, they want that. They do. They want that. Everybody want that. You can't convince me that somebody don't want that. It don't matter who you are. You don't want to live a life of lone wolf the whole time. You don't want to live a life of just messing with people for the simple fact that you get to mess with them, but you never feel attached to them. You don't want that. Because when it comes to time that you really need somebody, when you go to time you want to lay down with somebody, you want that person that you're laying with to be trustworthy. Someone that you actually care about. You don't want to be laid with anybody. You don't want that for yourself. Because when you put so much time into being what you gotta be for yourself, you damn sure want somebody that's the same thing for themselves. You don't want to be laid around with somebody that depended on you the whole time to get to where they need to be, or only stuck around with you because of what you had or what you provided for them. No, you don't want that. You want to stay with somebody knowing that I got myself here. I made myself who I am. They did the same thing for themselves, but we can still depend on one another because we love one another. We want that, but we can't do that because it's dangerous. Because deep down, a lot of people, as much that they want that, they're not gonna do that. So what you mean? I'm gonna put myself out here. I'm gonna put my heart on my sleeve, whatever. And you're gonna stay here and still have all your walls up, still be closed off, still act like I'm not trying to confide in you. I'm not trying to love you, but you're gonna. Yeah, he just another person. She just another person. She nothing special. I can afford to be, I can afford to be loving with her. I gotta worry about me. What if she do me wrong? And like I said, I get it though. Like it makes sense. But you have to learn how to do both. You at least have to try to do both. You can't just stand around all day and be like, no, no. Because how are we ever gonna feel close to one another? How are we ever gonna trust one another? How are we ever gonna like be equal one another if we just keep finding ways to close like ourselves off and find other ways to put somebody else down? And also, that's another thing too. Just because you decide to be independent, you could be independent, but you don't gotta be independent and act like your independency is better than anybody else. That your independency is superiority. That's not what it is. No, you know how to be solo, and that's good for you. You know how to make yourself work for yourself and be who you need to be for yourself. That's double thumbs up, right? But you don't gotta put other people down in the process. You don't gotta do that. And same thing with dependency. Your dependency isn't inferiority, right? You aren't inferior to these people just because you have to depend on them. But at the same time, it's like you do gotta know when to stand up for yourself. Because I don't want to see people that depend on people in a position where they gotta depend on themselves and that they freeze up, they stuck, and they don't have nobody or nothing to work with because the person that they should have had, they didn't spend enough time with them. You too busy trying to figure out, okay, who am I gonna date? Who am I gonna be friends with? How am I gonna, you know what I mean? How am I gonna hang out? How am I gonna play the game? How am I gonna have a love life? You know, those things take people, right? But you don't gotta depend on those people at the time. But it is hard to kind of speak on it sometimes because, like, I'm fortunate enough to have people that I do depend with. I can trust my life. I got a nice friend group I've had for years. You can afford that no more. You can if you didn't grow up with that, if you didn't find that, if you didn't establish that bond early on, it's hard to just run into it. And same thing relationship. I done had one for like years now. I thought that shit was solid. I thought that shit was gonna stick. It ain't stick. You know? So now I'm in a position too where it's just like I'm knowing I can provide for that. I can do that again. But do I want to do that again? You know? Because if you would have asked me like 3 months ago, you would have asked me a year ago, you would have asked me 3 years ago, whatever, I would have told you like, yeah, this the one, this is solid, love stories, this, boom, boom, boom. And I think most of those answers would still, be relevant nowadays. But if I'm gonna get it real with you, it's like it's hard to not want to be like, but after that, yeah, love exists, but yeah, I would try again. But it's hard for me not to want to double guess on that statement because you don't know. I would love for shit to be promised to me. Right, I try to stand my promises, but it's like people aren't good at their words no more. People don't know what words mean. Like I said, I've been a love affirmation person from day one. So I realize when you say something to somebody, like it's gonna stick. But on top of that, you're gonna really break down what you mean. Like people can interpret things anyway. That's why I try to really break it down. Not yap too much. I want people to get understand like the root idea of what I'm trying to lay down for them. Right. So I'd say like when I've heard things, when I've said things, it's like I know on my part I mean that, but it's like I can't really fully sit there and be like, yeah, she mean what she mean, because I done had it happen where it's like they done said some shit and they switch up the next day. So it's just like how you gonna tell me I could depend on somebody when they don't even know what they saying, when they can't even put up the facade for a day. When you feel me, it's like they done said some shit and they don't even act on it. So it's like, what do you mean like? I'm like, fuck, huh? You was just saying this, and then tomorrow this is how you coming. Where's correlation? How does that work? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like everybody's gonna have you in a position where it's just like, what are we doing here? Why am I even with you? Why am I even trying to worry about making this shit work? Like I said, you gonna lose this, you gonna lose that. Yeah, it ain't worth losing that. It ain't worth trying. Like it's just what it is. Like because when you depend on somebody, you put yourself out there too. You don't just depend on somebody to give you stuff, or you don't just depend on somebody with like a open tab and you just waiting for them to put something on it. You don't do that. You depend on somebody with what you have to offer. That's how dependency be working. You don't just depend on somebody like, all right, bet I need money. They gonna give me money. I got an open bank account right here. Whatever I need it, put it in there, and that's not how you depend on somebody. No, you put something out there and hope that they can either stack on that or at least kind of refine that a little bit. That's what dependency is sometimes. Not all the time, like for the most part, yeah, if I'm dependent on somebody and I put my trust out there, I'm hoping that in return, I'm gonna get my trust back with something or my trust is gonna be more like polished. I don't want to receive my trust back after I just gave it to them and it's torn, it's tarnished. But that's what dependency is, because you don't always know what to expect from that other party. You just don't. That's how you got a wall right here with a like a deposit box, right? You put your thing in there, right? You come back a day later, see what come out that bitch. But you don't even know. You don't even know what, like, you don't know what they want to do with that. You don't know what you have to return, like what you have to receive. None of that. But you got to hope, depend, trust, and just believe, have faith that it ain't gonna be no bullshit. Cause you don't want to be bullshit. You don't. But that's the risk that comes with depending on people. At the same time, it's like, do you want to be the person that's putting stuff in that box and taking it out to refine it and putting, like, you know what I mean? Like, just being independent. You the one that's doing the whole process by yourself. Cause you know you could trust your results. You could trust your work. But it's more work. It is more work for you. Like I said, I don't even need. I don't even talk about this too much. I would imagine I got too much. I don't want to overload. Like, just bring them yaps. Like I'm saying, it's just like, please try. Cause we in a position where it's just like too many people aren't willing to, and too many people are gonna keep trying to be, but trying to be for the wrong people. And then it just ain't gonna exist no more. At some point, we're gonna be so used to and accustomed to just being like, don't do that. And then we know from experience that we shouldn't have to do that. So then we're gonna go to the next person, yeah, don't do that. Right? So now nobody's gonna try. Everybody gonna be doing their own shit, and there ain't gonna be no room for people to be there for one another.